You're a firework. Come on, show them what you're worth. Sydney,
I think we're live. I
where
like
are
your
you?
song.
Are you in the studio?
The studio that is the lovely Mandalay Bay. Where are
Wonderful.
you?
I'm on the expo floor.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's happening over here. There's like earthquake tests going on and everything. I'm kidding.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Or it's just me walking around. Who knows? Or maybe it's the electricity and how heavy we're dropping some awesome new features and services this week at reInvent 2023 here in Las Vegas.
I'll plus one that.
Plus one. So one thing that I am very excited about, I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Like it's been forever, it feels like. Last time we hung out was at Reinforce, and Reinforce is the security conference we have. And security is, a top priority at AWS. And you've been with AWS a little over about a year now, right? Almost 2 years. God,
No,
time's going by
over
so
2 years
quick.
now. Time flies.
Oh my goodness. Now, when it comes to security, what have you learned as far as like when it comes to security on AWS and customers and how they're evolving, how they go about approaching security on AWS, and why is it so important?
Yeah, absolutely. AWS, I mean, as we all know, customers use AWS for a host of things, many, many different things. But one thing that they all have in common is designing with security in mind. So with no matter what you're doing, you want to think about how can I build this from the ground up security focused? And AWS has tons of services to help with this. You got guard duty, you've got inspector, you've got detective. You can do pretty much anything you can think of. And where AWS is always looking to improve and add more. But I think in my couple years here, it's been really exciting to watch AWS mature alongside customers in designing for security and thinking about security in every step of the design process for a new application or for a new service or et cetera. What do you think, Kyle?
You
Well, you've
know,
been here for what, like 4 years, 3 years?
three and a half, and I've been doing security for a long time too. And I've seen it evolve. I say that I started in security as like even as a kid as a hobbyist, right? But you are a developer with a security problem, right? And so when we're looking at one of my things I like to see is a lot of developers are changing their mindset and how they approach building their awesome widget and tool because now they're thinking about security at the forefront and instead of just like a blocker, right? Traditionally, security has always been looked at as if I go to the security team, they're going to say no or yes, and that's going to stifle my innovation. That's going to yuck my yum. It's going to just give me a bad day. But now, with the way that security is transforming in the culture of security, it's how can we build in these guardrails and be proactive enablers.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
call it going from bouncers to bodyguards, right? With the bouncers at the nightclub, they're saying yes, no. But with bodyguards, they're like, hey, I'm going to go along with you on this awesome adventure. And if you're going to, go, make fun of the biggest person in the room, we're going to go ahead and move you to safety and course correct. And let's talk about more better behaviors that you can practice to maintain that security or safe state, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It really is in every step of the life cycle. When you think of your design or of your deployment, AWS has released a number of services that makes it easier to consider security from your EC2 instances, from the applications you're running on them, and et cetera.
Yeah, and I would actually like to hear from all of our friends that are joining us, virtually. Where do you feel that security fits in with your day to day? Like, no matter what you do, you could say I'm a data analyst. Security is part of that mindset of maintaining the confidentiality of that data and how you process that data. So I would say that security is in every role, no matter what you do. And so I would love to hear from our friends that are joining us live virtually,
Yes,
how they
please.
feel security applies to their role on a regular basis, or how have they influenced security to be more of a positive type of mental model versus, just like, uh, I've got to go to security and talk to them. Back in the day, you wouldn't want to hear from security. It's like, Kyle's calling me, something bad happened. Now it's like, hey, Kyle, so
Yeah, like working alongside, more of like a partnership and building together for the same common goal.
We are friends. We try to be, at least. All right. So I could talk about security all day, all night. But really, what we're really here for is to hear about some awesome new things that are happening in the world of AWS. Let's go on
let's
and
do it.
bring on our guest of honor. Drum roll, please. Who do we got today? Magic of video. We got Nitin. Hey, you must be in the remote studio as well.
Yes, I am in Mandalay Bay, one of the studios, yes.
I am so lonely here. But hey, I got my friends of AWS on air in front of me and forklifts. But hey, so what are we going to be talking about today? And, first, I'm so excited about this. First, let's talk about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a principal product manager at AWS. I've been with AWS for close to 4 years. I'm part of AWS support organization. And today, I'm really excited to talk about a new launch. Yesterday, we launched AWS Repost Private. It's a new knowledge service for our customers to drive cloud adoption and improve their developers' productivity.
Wow.
Now, that is really awesome. We took a problem, you created a solution. Now, how would we say that, when a customer's like, hey, we want to help with development, how would this fit into that workload? And is this for like startups or enterprises or all customers that want to just, improve what they're doing?
Yeah, I'll give a brief history. So 2 years ago, we launched AWS Repost at reInvent. It is a community-driven knowledge sharing service. Anybody can ask a question, they can get a response. And since then, a lot of customers have come to us and they say, hey, can I use it for my own organization? This looks like a cool technology. So what we did, we have now created a private version of Repost for enterprises. This is primarily targeted for enterprises. Customers who have enterprise support plan with AWS or enterprise on-ramp plan, they can go to console and subscribe to this service. And when we were interacting with customers, what we discovered and customers have shared, there are collaborations already happening within their teams and they are talking to AWS account team members. However, all those collaborations are siloed. Either they are happening over conference calls or Slack or email. And all the discussions that are happening are transactional in nature. A person is asking a question, they're getting a response. But there wasn't a structured way to convert those transactions into a reusable knowledge. So this is really a space for customers to drive the collaboration, get curated content from AWS, and then have a discussion within their team and invite AWS account team members as well.
Awesome. And so I want to touch on what you said about this is a solution for customers to to turn that knowledge that was already happening in Repost and reuse that. Can you talk more about what that would look like?
Yeah, so minor correction. So Repost is going to continue to exist for the public discussion. This is really for the private. Let's say a big enterprise, they are already talking to AWS account manager or technical account manager over email or a conference call. Now, AWS account manager and AWS and customers builders will be part of a discussion forum where they can ask a question and our account manager, if they know, they can provide an answer. And I'll show you briefly in the demonstration how the interaction looks like. But the idea is a community which is private to the customer. And community also includes the account team, which is already supporting our customers as of today.
Something like that is, I work with a lot of our customers on how they document, incident response processes, but even just widening that to like a central knowledge database in a way, right? Where what is amazing about this, you hear the terminology tacit knowledge and it's like, oh, Kyle always handled this thing or Nitin always handled that thing or Sydney's the only person that ever like touched that thing over there. And now you have a way to have a central knowledge repository for your organization. And, it does take time to build it, but the ability to put role-based access control around it, make it searchable, and then give us the opportunity to look at it. And it's just, that's awesome. Knowledge is powerful. I'm not trying to be like, all knowing, right? But the ways to share knowledge are so many different ways. And if there's a standard way to make it easier, that is super powerful.
And that's awesome. And the ability to reuse the knowledge and like lower the time that you're spend working and figuring out a specific thing sounds super powerful. But let's go ahead and jump into what you're sharing here.
Yeah. So for customers to get access to this service, they can go to AWS Management Console, and they can just search the service within the customer enablement section, as you will see, and they can find the repost private. All they have to do is to just create a private repost. This is a SaaS application. All the infrastructure that's required to create this knowledge service is taken care by us. It's really to accelerate their adoption, and they can increase their developer productivity. The concept is our customers should focus on really the community part, the collaboration part, and do not worry about any of the infrastructure management. So it's a service available from console. It's very easy to set up. We offer 2 pricing tiers: free tier for first 6 months, no limit on number of users who can subscribe to this during the free trial period. There is a limit on the content storage. They can get up to 10 gigabit of content during their free trial, and they can subscribe to a standard tier. After free tier, it's a per user pricing. When somebody is creating this service, what we ask is them to give them a name. They can specify a description. And what's interesting is they can specify a custom domain, as you can see over here. What it does, a person who is admin will be creating an instance of this service within the management console. They can specify a vanity subdomain. So builders, they don't have to come to management console. They will just use this URL to get access to this knowledge service. This is where the administrator will specify the custom subdomain to get it reviewed and approved by AWS, so that this is a memorable domain for any developer to go and access the service. There are some default options for data encryption. Customers can bring their own AWS KMS key. What we have done, I'll just highlight, within this service, we have done an integration with Support Center as well. So if there is a community within customers' organization, they are having a discussion, and if there's a question that's not resolved, they would have an ability to convert that question into a support case without leaving the private repost. And what happens when that question gets converted into support case, it goes through a regular queue, and support engineer will respond, and the question will come back into the private repost. But the place here, this role that customer needs to create, and they can grant it to certain users within their private repost who can create a support case. And once a response comes back from support engineer, the administrator will have an ability to convert that transactional discussion that they were having with support engineer and make it visible within other users of that private repost. So the idea is to convert the one-on-one conversation that was happening between support engineer and a customer person who was asking a question. They would have an ability to convert it into a knowledge. So after few basic information, customers can just say, look, hey, let's go ahead and create this repost.
So you're clicking through, and that seems all too easy. I've in my past, I've set up internal knowledge databases before, and sometimes you trip over even just the basics of configuration, like moving it from like a local user storage to integration to like, SAML or single sign-on, right? And this, you provision this in a matter of a few clicks. So as you said, you're working to consume to shared knowledge and information versus worrying about the underlying infrastructure.
Yeah, that is correct. So the infrastructure, which database to store and all that, that's taken care of. However, the identity is something that we still want customer to control, that what kind of identity they want to hook it up for builders to access this service. So we have done integration with AWS Identity Center, and admin can actually specify if they want to have a SSO or Active Directory, and they can assign the users to the service. So it does take close to like 15 to 20 minutes for creating. So while creating, you will see that it's pending, and then once it's created, the administrator will see an email like this. As you can see, it has clear CTA, go to the private repost, and then start configuring. The next, I want to show you how to add the users. So within the console, users can see the list of all their private repost. They can go there. They can select their private repost, which this was done a little bit ahead of the demo. So it's created now. It's online. And what administrator would do is really now configuring and adding users. So what we do in the users is like, hey, they will hook it up the identity center. They can use their own identity pool or Active Directory or SAML integration, and those users will start showing up here. This is the place where administrator will grant the access to the recently created private repost. And this is where they'll select them, and this is where the role management happens. And some of the roles are like, there is an administrator, there is an expert on the platform, and there are moderators as well to really review and make sure the content is moderated well. So one important thing is once the repost is created, there's a public repost, but we wanted to give control to our customers to customize their private repost as well. So it's not usable until they can customize their repost. Additionally, they can assign some roles. We talked about they can make an admin. Admin has more power. They can grant different roles. They can set up the look and feel, the UI of the overall repost for other users to see. Now let's take a look at the launch. So and this is where the admin, once the identity is hooked up, they use Identity Center to log in. Even admin will have to log in through that. Once they log in into the private repost, the first thing they have to do is to now configure it. So this is where, right, they can brand it. So they can have their own logo and all color scheme.
They get to add their own little pizzazz to their knowledge repository.
Yes, and they can do a few more things, which is really, now the customization is happening. They can set the title. Okay, this is how my private repost is going to look like. Add a description, add a logo, so it's clearly distinct from the public repost, which is where like anybody can go and search. But remember, this is a private one, and enterprise really want to have their developers to have a comfortably asking a private question that they would not be comfortable in asking in a public domain. Now it comes with the organized content. So we offer tags and topics. Tags are primarily AWS services, and topics are like similar tags grouped together. Additionally, the admin can specify their own tags, and it does have some capabilities that, for example, customer can say, hey, I just want to add my own custom tag central, or I want to try out a Java tag. They can just add Java. This tagging comes, and I'll show when a customer posts or user posts a content, they can tag it so the content is organized really well. That's the idea.
Cool.
Very neat.
Yeah, and then they can really, there's a moderator functionality as well. They can specify some words if they don't want their users to be using. In an enterprise world, we don't expect like customers will be putting it. However, there are some code words, project code words, where admin may not want their developers to be using those code words in even in a private forum. So this is a place where
project secret sauce.
Project secret sauce, right? Exactly. And the final step for admin to configure is really to specify the use cases. So there's a lot of talk about like, hey, Gen AI, or like there are different topics, analytics. So admin can choose these tags. The concept here is this will tell AWS that what curated content we can really push it into this application. So that becomes a featured content. This really streamline the onboarding of new team members on AWS technologies on a new project. If a team is really focused on, let's say, modeling SageMaker, they can pick use cases around that. And we have a repository of curated content that will push it, will surface this as a featured content. Like if you go to a Prime Video, there are featured content, and there's anybody can search entire repository as well. Same concept. Based on their selection of tags, those content will be featured, but they will have access to other content as well. So this pretty much sets up the private repos ready for developers to be used. So any questions so far before I can really move on to a developer experience?
Let's go and show the dev experience real quick.
Yeah. So for dev experience, I'm doing a little live. So this is, again, I'm in console. I'm going to look at my private.
We got to do our demo God's dance.
All right. All right. So I'm going to pick this one. This is all the private repos I have. I'm going to pick this one. So this one was created. This is a different private repos I'm showing. So during the creation, we create two URL. One is a custom subdomain, which is a pending review. We do not want company A to be using company B subdomain. So there's a manual verification happens at the back, and it takes a few hours. But there's a auto-generated subdomain as well. So this is where, let me log out from here. This is how I will see, or any developer will see in an email. They will get like, hey, now you're coming to your private repo, sign in or something. So this is where the identity center come into play. I have my login set up. I'm a developer here. I'm just going to log in. Now, while logging, you will notice that this is the custom logo, and this is a custom color that admin has picked it up, so it's distinct from the public repost. So there's a home page, and these are the selections. So selections are basically a curated piece of content that AWS team has stitched together based on the use cases that admin has selected 2 screens ago. So this will be a featured selection. Right now, we are just showing a basic dummy data, but this is how it's going to look like. The information architecture is like, hey, users can look at questions. There are articles, there are selections. Tags and topics is how the whole information architecture is organized. As a user, I have my own profile. I can upload my picture. I can see the cool thing that comes with the gamification. So there are different points I will earn as a developer while interacting with the private repost, and I can move along different stages, and this will be my profile that's visible to other users.
Can those stages be customized?
Not at the initial launch, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's coming soon, right? Yeah, we'll offer those customizations so that enterprises can play with their own names and know. Oh, that's a great question. So and they can set it up and they're ready to go. One other important thing I want to highlight is that it comes with a languages and notification as well. So this service is offered in 6 languages: English, French, Korean, Japanese, and traditional and standard Chinese. And notification, so it has built-in notification. So for email, I can select, right, hey, if somebody posts an answer on my question, should I get immediately notified, or send me a daily digest, or don't bother notifying me, or weekly digest, and so on. and I can follow content. If I like, Kyle, your content, I can go and just start following you. So any activity you will do, I'll get an instant email notification. Let's take a look at very important element is the search. So search does both. It does internal content and it does external content as well. So if I can say, how can I encrypt S3 bucket? So here you will see, this is my local search result, and this is showing public search result. So let's say if I go to public search result.
So if you're querying something and there's no returns in your private repository, but there's something in the public repository of repost, that will show those results as well. That's
correct.
Awesome.
Correct. And go ahead.
It looks like the first thing that pops up is your private repository. So things that would specifically apply to your business if you were using this
as correct.
A company. Yes. But then in one place, you can see the public too. That's very powerful.
Yeah, and this, while you're looking, you're still in your private one. This is a copy of the question. There's a permalink, and they can click onto it. It opens into a different window altogether. Now they are on public repos. So this is where the branding is important. They can see it. Now, even more important, I did see like how I can get the size of Amazon S3 bucket, but I work for an ABC Corp, right? And ABC Corp really uses S3 in a weird way or an interesting way. I can start my private discussion on this public content within my private repost. So just by a click of button, I'm asking.
So you're almost like creating a fork off of the
absolutely.
repost. Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
I use the developer term, Sydney. You should be proud of me.
Perfect. Forking, branching. So I know we're coming right up on time here. Before we wrap up, like, is there any key takeaways that you would like the audience to see?
Yeah, if any of you are at reInvent, come attend our session on Thursday, SUP 205. We will be talking in more detail about this service. Or try out for 6 months free. This is a private repost where your team can really accelerate the development. If any of you are senior leadership, executive sponsor at your organization who are really thinking how you can develop the cloud community of practice, or you're thinking about the center of excellence for cloud, this is a solution you should try. That's all I will leave it at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this exciting launch. And we look forward to the next session. We are going to post a survey link in the chat, so please stay tuned for that. It's coming up shortly. And we'll go ahead and end here.
All right. Thanks,
you. Kyle. Thanks.